I think we're live. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome. Hope everyone's doing well. Thank you for joining us for the discussion of The Mad Ship by Robin Hobb, the second book in the Liveship Traders series, the fifth book, for Elderlings.
I don't have a book. I don't have a physical copy. I feel lost.
Upside down. But yeah, this is for the Catch-Up Book Club. Thank you so much for joining us. This is a series continuation, so this is probably going to be all spoilery, I'm guessing. Yeah. So if you haven't read the first book, we're probably going to be spoiling the first book as well, or whilst we talk about this. So be aware. And yeah, I think we can crack on and get on with introductions. So I'm Cody. My channel is Cody's Book Corner, which this is the channel. And introduction, Becca.
I am Becca. My channel is Becca on the Books.
I'm Ashley at A Frolic Through Fiction.
And I'm Jade from JD Ray Reads.
We are 2 members down today. I think everybody will be back for next time. But sadly, today you just have us 4.
Oh no, what a disaster.
I know. I hope that's fine. Hope you like it.
What a horrible group of people to be stuck with.
The worst.
So where do we want to start? Do we want to start with just like general thoughts and rating and stuff? This was a very positive book for everybody overall, I think, but I will let Cody start.
Yeah, very positive indeed. Another 5-star. Robin Hobb has definitely been cemented in my brain as a new favorite author. I could even like Liveship Traders more than Farseer, and I didn't think I'd say that after reading the first one. I know, it was quite a big claim. I mean, we've still got the next book to go, but 5 stars, freaking incredible. The amount of the expansion of the world and the backstories we're getting, the character development, how fast-paced this was in comparison to the first one, and how much of, well, I wouldn't say it was a lot of a less, well, that doesn't make any sense. I was going to say this is a less of a downer than the first book, but there are still some kind of rough scenes in this one. But yeah, 5 stars. Passing it on to Becca.
I also gave it 5 stars, possibly my favorite book so far. It's hard for me to decide. I still can't decide if I like Liveship or Farseer more. Oh no, I do know that, but I can't decide what my favorite book of the 5 is, because they are very different types of fantasy. But my favorite thing about this book in particular was probably the exploration of the magic system and actually getting some concrete answers about that, and also what that meant for the Farseer trilogy, which I'm sure we are going to discuss at some point in this live show, because it was one of my favorite parts of the book, and I also really loved the character development as well that we saw throughout this one, which was wild in some places.
Who next? Shall I go? I also rated it 5 stars, and I was very happy about that because I really wanted more after the last one. I know the first book, Ship of Destiny, where is it, that one? Ship of Magic. Those names are too similar. The first book, I rated 4 stars, but I remember saying I was really unsure of whether it would be 3 or 4 stars, and it took me this whole process of figuring it out. And with this one, I was just like, there is no argument. This is 5 stars. And when it comes to which series I prefer, it's weird because I still feel like I prefer the Farseer trilogy, but I think in terms of ratings, depending how the last book goes, that's going to top it on average rating. So I think it's interesting because with this series, I automatically dislike more about it in terms of the sea setting isn't my favorite. Not too fussed about pirate stories generally. Also, I disliked all of the characters in the beginning, but I feel like it's getting more higher ratings because it's managing to just wipe all that off the table and impress me anyway. My speech.
I also rated it 5 stars. This is the first book from Robin Hobb to get 5 stars from me. All of the previous ones have got 4, so I think that kind of highlights what series is my favorite. My favorite of all of the ones so far. Everything in Farseer got 4 stars from me. Like, I wanted to love it, but there was always something that just wasn't quite there for me for all 3 of those. And then I had similar feelings on Ship of Magic, and then this one just blew it all out of the park. Like this, it was incredible. The character development was incredible. The backstory and the context that we're getting on the magic and the development of the world itself as well is incredible. and the physical reactions I was having. That tends to be how I know if something is a 5-star read. Like if it makes me physically react, like I want to pummel the book, 5 stars.
Feel that.
Yeah.
I feel like I want to start with the fits in the
I thought this was a good comment. Yeah.
They are I think they are still my favorite characters, actually, although we are going on to characters now. I don't really know where to start because I kind of want to ease in before we get into like the real interesting stuff. A lot of characters that have quite a lot going on in this book, but who is like your guys, after reading the second book, who is your guys' favorite character? Because mine is still Althea, but I also really like Rain and Brashen still as well.
It's still one.
Yeah, I think mine's going to be very different to all of yours. And I think me and Becca have touched upon this. I remember us briefly discussing the fact that I really like Kenneth.
Yeah. I'm not a big fan.
It's like, which ones do you like as people, or which ones do you most enjoy reading about?
Most enjoy as characters.
Exactly. Kenneth and Paragon for me. I always like a scene with Paragon. I think he's sassy and I like that. And also Cyrilla's really interesting. She's new, but she's cool.
I know who you're going to say. No, actually, I saw that light bulb moment.
Yeah.
I don't know if you... Well, yeah, I don't know. The highlight of this book for me is Clef. He's just...
Oh, no. That was not what I said.
You were expecting me to say Ophelia, weren't you? I do like Ophelia. She's one of my favorites. But Clef is just the sweetest little cinnamon roll, and I cared for him because he cannot survive in that world. But he's just kind of like trotting in every so often, and he's just being like, "You can choose to be happy," and I'm like,
"Yeah,
that's so cute."
We've got Fifi's favorite are Malta and Brashen. She has to pick alternatives now that we don't have Boric. Oh my god, I forgot his name in this series.
Don't like
I don't like yeah, Paragon and Brashen, Dorothy, Malta. I think that Malta is a very interesting character. Should we start with Malta? I feel like we have a lot to cover, but she's not like, for me, she's not the most interesting one. I think Amber is definitely the one that we're going to talk about for quite a while. But Malta, I have always liked because she is like, I have to appreciate her audacity. Even if some of the things she does really frustrates me, I'm like, you know what, fair play, you've like worked the system here to get what you want, and I have to respect that. But in this book, we see her go through quite a lot of character growth to the point where I would say at least that I actually like her just generally now at the end of the second book, and I'm really interested to see where that's going to go.
Yeah, I did a 180 on her pretty like in the middle of that book. As soon as she started using her powers for good, and she was the actual one who was being practical, and she was like, okay, is this even financially viable that we do this? That scene changed my mind on her, and I think she's going to be a very interesting character in the third one. Yeah.
Yeah, throughout most of the like first half of the book, I was thinking if Malta could drop down dead, that would just be great. And then it was so quickly just like, I want to read more about Malta. Can we flip back to her, please? Like ASAP, what's going on there?
I remember, I think I said it to Becca. There's like, I was so impressed with the character development because all I kept saying about the first book is I hate everybody. There's not a single person I like. In this, Robin Hobb managed to completely change my opinion on pretty much the entire cast, and there's only one other author that's done that, and that's Sarah J. Maas. So I was just like, for that alone, she now gets favorite author status, because I'm like, that's so hard to do, like to build up a character, a whole cast of characters, to make you hate them or like feel some way, and then just completely flip that in a realistic way is so impressive.
Very impressive. But I will say she's probably created one of the most uncomfortable scenes I've ever read in a book ever. And it was the scene with Brashen. I was squirming. I talked to Ashley about this. I was just like, no.
No, yeah.
With Malta and Brashen, when it's just Malta and Brashen, is that the scene you're referring to?
Yeah, hated it so much.
Yeah, very, very disturbing. In the same vein of like Robin Hobb flipping opinions, what do you guys think about Wintro now? Because I actually don't like him anymore, and I did in the first book.
Yeah, he's a tricky one. He seems like he's now got some kind of hero worship for Kenneth, and I'm just like, no, you're smarter than this. Come on now. I don't know.
Like dynamic on that ship is just bizarre.
Mm-hmm.
Really strange. Because it's like they all think they're playing, like doing some kind of power play on each other, and it's just not working. Because as well, like Kennett's almost turned into this father figure over Wintrow, and then you've got Vivacia, who's just like, I'm gonna be a pirate ship. It's like,
Yeah. Someone got me a parrot, kind of, yeah.
oh god.
I love all of that just because it shows the power that Kenneth holds over people. How good he is at manipulating people to believe what he wants them to. And it's almost like, I don't know what I was trying to go with there, but the manipulation, it's like he abuses these people to the point of worshipping him. It's clever and awful, and I love reading about it, which is why I say Kenneth was probably my favorite character to read about.
Yeah.
But because he's a horrible person, it's really interesting how he's manipulated Wintrow into becoming an entirely different person.
Yeah, yeah.
By the thing where I'm like, sometimes he ends up in situations and then he plays it off as if that was his plan all along, and I'm like, no. Which makes me laugh. I think he does have a softer side, and then it's like, no, I don't care. I'm just doing this for all these reasons, and I'm like, sure, Kenneth, okay.
I have a couple of notes on Kenneth and Wintrow specifically, actually, because somebody in the chat actually pointed out a possibility of Kenneth being queer in the last live show with some of the ways that he was treating Etta. And I noticed, I don't have the physical book, so I don't have it marked, but quite early on in the book, he mentions the pirate guy that's mentioned throughout the book. Is he called Igor? Something about that led me to believe that he was possibly sexually abused when he was younger, although it's never stated on the page. And on more than one occurrence, when he talks about Wintrow, he describes him as being beautiful and too perfect.
Yeah.
And like that, which I thought was really interesting, especially because it is like kind of subtle. And I think if it hadn't have been brought up in the chat, I don't think I would have necessarily even picked up on it at all.
Yeah, I think it was me that said that in the last live show. I was like, oh, I think because of the way he described it as body. But yeah, I had kind of alarm bells going off, like, please don't let this be a thing. I don't want this to be a thing. But then, of course, he wants to use that and manipulate that kind of connection that he has with Wintrow even more to try and get an heir, it seems like, for the ship through Etta, which is just really creepy, and I don't like it. But I do like Etta and Wintrow's relationship, and that's one of my highlights of this book.
I love that part where she goes into his room at night and is like, take off your shirt. We're going to sword fight.
Yeah, I loved it.
I mean, things that you haven't seen before.
I'm going to have this really sexual build-up with you and then give you a dagger.
Oh, that made me laugh because it went on for so long as well, and he's just like, oh god. It's just like, it did make me laugh.
Yeah, some more people are disgusted. The audacity of him. Yeah, but it's Kenneth. What did we expect?
So, what do we think that the little wooden thing that Etta finds in her boot signifies? Because I have one note on it that says something. I can't even find it, but it's something about a weird serpent baby. Is what I've written down. Etta is having a magical serpent baby? ?
Oh, I don't know how I feel about that.
yeah, because I feel like it's, where's this baby coming from? Is what I want to know with the way that it was left.
I wonder if it's got anything to do with Wintrow's weird connection where it's just like, I will remember for all of them after meeting that abandoned one. That was just a weird chapter. Like, I've got so many, because all my dark blue tabs are like important things, and if you can see all of these ones are all the same chapter, because I was like, what on earth is going on?
That chapter on the beach was just wild.
Weird, yeah.
And that's like, if there was any, it's not even necessarily a negative, but anything not necessarily positive I would mention is that all of the like revelationary information that we're given happens within 2 chapters of the book. The rest of it kind of like building the world. Because I remember, like, me and Becca, we were both just messaging each other, just like, right, if we got this right, we were given all of that information really quickly, and we were just kind of like to recap what we'd just learned to be like, is this how it works? Is this what we've just been told?
I do find it interesting that because in the first chapter of the first book, the serpent just don't make any sense. Like that whole chapter just means absolutely nothing. But these serpents actually seem to be learning on pace with the reader, which is obviously so that the serpents don't give away the information. It's like a slow build-up for the reader. But I did think that was interesting how Robin Hobb has done that, because the serpents, I definitely think, are going to be relevant in book 3, but they're kind of, it's like the Farseer trilogy, where you have this magical plotline that actually matters, but it's overshadowed by like immediate danger, which is all the stuff going on like with the politics in Bingtown, I guess. So I did find that interesting, but I'm really disappointed that Vivacia is not She Who Remembers, because I really thought it was going to be her.
Yeah. How heartbreaking is it to find out what live ships actually are, though? And the ouch.
I just want to recap. So I was like, right. So the serpents migrate to the rain wilds to curl up in cocoons to turn into dragons, apart from they got stuck and then they got chopped up into live ships. I was like, what?
Basically, yeah.
I loved the scene where, I can't remember what the dragon's name is. It's something like it begins with T.
Yeah.
Like Taratanglia or something like that. Where she gives Malta all of the memories, and it's revealed that Verity is not an Elderling, because Verity is one of the statues that was made like in the image of Elderlings. So he's just like I don't even know, like a tribute to an Elderling. But I thought it was really funny because Fitz and everybody in the Farseer trilogy go all this way, think that they found the Elderlings, turn Verity into this stone dragon, and it's not even an Elderling.
Yeah. And it's not even a dragon. It's just like a imitation of, like you said, I was just like, when I got to that part, I was like, what the fuck?
Because they do it with such reverence as well in the Farseer trilogy, and I'm like, oh, what have you done?
Yeah.
A question though, like after all the revelations, and I don't like, this must have been left in there to question, because they get the entire story of like how life ships, like the progression that I've just mentioned, and this story is from, is it Jacques? I don't know how you pronounce it, but it all comes from that serpent who knows that entire thing, and I'm like, how are you back to a serpent though if you were already a live ship? Like, how are you?
I really don't understand that.
Like, I'm just
because I think the ship was Ringsgold, and then I did notice later on that Ringsgold hasn't come back to port. They were mentioning that he's been gone a long time. But I just didn't understand how he was a serpent but also a ship.
Yeah,
and just like they ate him as he was a serpent, but he was a ship.
Yeah. And then Paragon is like 2 different dragons, right? That's kind of where his thing comes from. Did you catch that? It was like 2 different Great Paragon. That's why he's kind of.
I knew that he was created of 2 different words, but I didn't connect.
I think that might be why. Yeah, because he's got like 2 different lots of memories inside him or whatever, and it's kind of
I didn't pick up on that for ages, and then he said something about like his internal wood felt wrong or something, and it's because it just didn't fit together as it should have done.
Yeah.
My mind is blown. I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Paragon and Vivacia now that they've both met serpents and they know. Because it got to a point where like both of them were doing what they were doing, and the very last chapters I believe that they were seen in is where they gained this extra knowledge, and then we never saw them again. So we don't know what being in contact with the serpents, like how that has actually affected them, because did they both get blood splashed on them? Serpent blood? Oh no, the venom, the toxins.
Yeah. That's how they release the memories, right? Yeah.
Everyone's saying that Ringsgold was eaten by a serpent.
Holy shit, right? It seemed like it was the big silver serpent that was following the ships, or a big silver serpent. But then they said that he was a ship, and it was just confusing. But then a lot of things in the serpent's perspective is really confusing. And I do find it hard to, because I'm not good with ambiguity at all.
Was the one that they called the Silver Provider? Was that?
I think so. Okay. And then, of course, the She Who Remembers the Actual Serpent is a silver one. And at the end, they were like, we should just kill the silver serpents. And I'm like, well, that's not going to be good for the 3rd book, is it?
I think I'm not happy, because I think in the 3rd book, the serpent's going to go and try and eat all of the live ships.
Oh, interesting.
And attack them. So that's going to cause...
How weird does that sound out of context? The serpents are going to go and eat the ships.
Yeah.
My brain didn't like that image because I just imagined the serpents being small in the ship, so I was like, that doesn't work.
Yeah.
So we have some more interpretations. The wizard wood is silver and they sense his consciousness as a serpent, but it is now a ship. And then Expedition 3 pages said they were describing him in their own weird words, which does make sense. I'm interested because that kind of happened in the serpent's perspective. Like, we've never met Ringsgold aside from knowing that he was missing from port, so I'm interested to see if that has any like plot development on the political side of things, with him being missing.
Yeah, I think it probably will. She likes to weave everything together quite subtly, so probably come back again.
If you think about it, most of the characters in this book aren't actually that reliable because they're all affected by other people's memories. So we've got all of the live ships that are just like memories upon memories upon memories, which is the same for the serpents and the dragon that's now out in the world. And then even the humans we follow, like Althea and Winter, are obviously connected to Vivacia and whatever other ships they end up on. And then Malta and Rain are with the log dragon. So they're all being affected by other people's memories. So how reliable are they really when they're doing their own thing? And, you know, we're discovering information through them because where's it coming from?
I trust anything that Amber says, though. She's like the only one I'm like, she knows what's up.
Did anyone pick up on the quote where, to me, she admitted that she is the fool?
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. I was like, oh my god. Yeah.
I highlighted it. I wrote it down and highlighted it. There's a meeting between Amber, Brashen, Althea, and whoever their first mate is, and she wants to give Paragon a spear, and he calls her a fool, and she says it's not the first time I've been called a fool, and likely not the last.
And then there was the other thing when she was talking about having a love. There was a whole thing about having to spend a lot of time away from their love or something, and I'm like, oh, I know what she's talking about. I know what she's talking about.
Yeah.
This clearly just went straight over my head.
Like I said, this tweet of the day, and I was like, no.
I remember her saying this isn't the first time someone called me a fool, but I definitely did not put that together. I just thought people liked to call her stupid.
It definitely stood out to me mainly because of the chat that we had for the first book. It wasn't even in my mind that Amber was going to be the fool, so that would have, I'm not sure if that would have cottoned on for me at all if it wasn't for our last live show.
Yeah, this is what I was referring to, the conversation with Althea about love. I wish I'd noted it down, but I didn't. But it felt like she was talking about Fitz, as Om said.
I have. I've got a new Kindle, and I don't know how to see what I've highlighted, but I think the majority of my highlights for Madship were about the Fool. And Amber.
Megan's just said, don't worry, I didn't pick up on Amber equals fool until the third book, so I'll look for it then.
I will be keeping my eyes peeled for that. I'm so excited for the third.
Oh, interesting. She also always wears gloves so that her skill mark won't show.
Yes, because at one point she has gloves off and she's got scars on her hands, and I was trying to remember, I was like, does the Fool have scars? Like, I couldn't remember. But I'm guessing, yeah.
We'll all come to the third live show and just be like, here's all the evidence. I have a coloured tab.
Oh, this is interesting. Read Liveship Traders first, so the first trilogy, so Amber became the Fool for me.
I'm trying to, I have no idea how to use this Kindle and find all of my highlights and stuff, so I don't know why I bother doing it, but I do.
407. Oh, there was a great quote. Oh, gosh.
Yeah.
Family Liveship wasn't around for a fool. I'm going to have a look.
Oh, doesn't Amber touch Malta with the skill map? Did she? I missed that.
That's when Malta collapsed on the deck.
Yeah.
Oh, shit, yeah. It's all coming together now. It's all coming together.
Yeah.
Yeah, this is also another thing. This is what we said before in the last live show, that she had skill with wood like the Fool would make toys. Yeah.
Oh, I think I found them.
Okay, so apparently the third book is obvious. Becomes more obvious there. Okay.
But you literally do have to smack me in the face with a book for me to see it.
There we go.
Oh, I found the quote about love. Oh yeah, it's right there. I spent all my time looking for those highlights.
Someone just found it.
That you have to admit his life is as important as yours. Harder still, you have to admit that perhaps he has needs you cannot fill.
And I was like, this fits.
Okay, this was one that flagged it for me. Amber goes off on a ramble and says, "Fate rushes down upon us, the time drags and the days plod past, lulling us into thinking about the doom we fear will always so delay. Then abruptly the dark days we have all predicted are upon us, and the time when we could have turned dire fate aside has passed. How old must I be before I learn there is no time, there is never any time, tomorrow may never come, but todays are linked inexorably in a chain, and now is always the only time," which reminded me of all of the rambles that the Fool used to go on when he was talking to Fitz, and Fitz was like, I don't really know what you're saying right now.
You're losing me, and then you said like, and that's the point. I'm like, cool.
There was also one that said it was not a flattering change. The bones of her cheeks and the line of her nose were too sharp to be feminine.
Oh.
The Fool is genderless.
And also the Fool has like prophecies all the time, and here Amber is wanting to find the 9-fingered slave boy.
I tabbed this the other way so that I could come back to it, because I was going to mention this like dream she has, because I was like, I think we're going to see this scene in book 3, because she's trying to explain to Paragon like what her dream's about, because she's trying to convince him that like there might be some truth behind it, and he's just like, whatever. And he's like, what did you dream? And she says, the same one, serpents and dragons, the 9-fingered slave boy. Moreover, I hear your voice calling warnings and threats, but you are not you are someone else, and there is something I don't know. So I'm just like, it's all about to get real confusing, where it's just like, I'm really intrigued to see all of the characters come back together, because it's like, how on earth is this like
gonna go down? Yeah, it's gonna be very interesting.
Like, I can't see a happy ending, because what's interesting is that everything I wanted to happen in the first book, I don't want them to happen anymore, because I'm like, I can't see it fitting together. Like, I wanted Althea to get back to Vivacia, and now I'm like, do I?
Yeah.
I don't actually know.
I'm interested to see what's going to happen with Vivacia in the end, because she's like completely different than she was. And she's wanting to be a pirate now. I've just seen in my highlights, I have a quote from Brasham where he tells Paragon, "You're a ship, not a flower pot," which I really appreciated. Enjoyed that. I'm just catching up with the chat now.
It's interesting thinking like, how is it going to fit together, because it did leave us in a place where I'm like, I can see how it's starting to come together, like the world is fitting together, but I can't see how the characters are then going to like find some kind of resolution. What?
It's interesting on a morality perspective, though. Like, what do we actually want for the live ships? Because we now know them as people, like as characters, but realistically, they're ghosts, and to be laid to rest or for the memories to be reabsorbed back into the people is kind of the ideal resolution for them. But now they've evolved something completely different. So, like, we obviously don't want to see them die. But in terms of what is right, it would probably be that the serpents eat them and reclaim the memories, and then go back on with their life.
We have the Rainwild Chronicles as a series. Do we have any reference to the live ships in there? Because all of the covers are about dragons rather than ships. So I'm just like, are they still around when we come to the Rainwild Chronicles? Because it could be that the ships all just turn into normal ships again. And then we no longer have the live ships, and like the Rainwild Chronicles could be about the re-establishing of how they do trade and stuff. I don't know.
I think the Rainwild Chronicles is from the perspective of a dragon.
Oh. But is it like current timeline, or is it like throwback? I'm guessing it's current timeline, so we know there'll be more dragons.
I think it's after this series.
Cool.
I'm interested to see how the existence of dragons, providing that nothing happens to the one dragon that we've got so far, I'm excited to see how that has a knock-on effect with the rest of Fitz's books. Because dragons can fly, so even though they're pretty far away in the world, it's not actually that far in terms of like dragons flying over there. So I'm wondering if they're going to make a reappearance in that trilogy, and whether they'll be relevant. I want to see Fitz realize that they didn't make Verity into an elderling, and they just turned him into a statue.
Yeah. Awkward.
It took me a while to click onto the fact that the other city that Rain keeps talking about wanting to go to is the one that they went to in the Farseer trilogy.
Yeah, in the mountains, the Mountain Kingdom, yeah.
It was, I kept thinking, I was like, this sounds familiar. Why did it sound familiar? And I was like, oh yeah, because Fitz kept going through the sky. And Rain also mentioned that it's a graveyard for the fake dragons.
Yeah, that was kind of hard to read because I was like, you know how much shit we went through to get to those fake dragons in the first series. Oh, this is a good point. They still need live ships to navigate the Rainwild River, so be some hope for live ships, hopefully.
True.
Oh, also, it's in the future we do follow dragons, but we mostly follow teens. They're kind of YA novels. Interesting. I didn't know that.
I had heard that, but I didn't, like, because I haven't read them, so I don't know. But I had heard more of a YA series.
Yeah, and the Rainwild is next to the Mountain Kingdom.
I'm just trying to.
I'm going to say I'm trying to imagine that, but my brain doesn't see things, so I'm just like.
I think it goes like, this is going to be backwards because camera, but it's like the 6 duchies, and then north a bit is the Mountain Kingdom, and then just like next to that and south is the Rainwilds, and then down into where the Liveship Traders is.
Oh yeah, right. It's right next to it, like on the map. You can see. Yeah.
How not like that?
What do we think about the
Method shores?
What do we think about the politics in this? Because I just feel like everything was just kind of building as I expect a Robin Hobb book to build, and all of the action scenes in here just seemed really jarring. Like how you had where Malta ends up thrown out of the carriage, like they all get thrown out of the carriage. That was just building like the standard normal political Robin Hobb plot line. Then all of a sudden it was action, and then everybody is like taken away. But that was that was one of the points where I did not expect the book to go in a direction that it did. And now they're in the Rainwild Chronicles, which I did not actually think was going to be a location that we saw in this series.
I would love to just a big free kingdom, like.
That's great, actually. I really did enjoy that. Just tree houses everywhere.
Yeah, it's kind of bummed that the Elderling thing's kind of like ruined now, the old city, because I would love to know more about the Elderlings. Do we think that there's some kind of like alien race or like previous race? Like what actually, obviously it seems like there was some kind of like Vesuvius incident that like messed everything up and killed them off. But all we know really about them is that they're taller. Do they have like magical powers and stuff? Like they obviously built some magical things. So I don't know.
There's always this like weird remnant left behind as well, where like people are affected by this echo version of this.
Yeah.
Like, why does that not happen with anybody else?
I feel like it makes sense now that nobody really knows what they are because their entire civilization was destroyed by a volcano, assumedly. So that would have covered every trace of them. But then, like, what were they? Where did they come from? Why were we humans at this time, like normal humans? Why are they here now and don't have any history of the Elderlings?
This makes me hopeful, though. Elderlings really coming to focus in the Fitz and the Fool trilogy, so we should have some answers. Yay!
Yeah, Megan's just said, all I'll say is Rainwild should be read after Live Ships and Fitz and the Fool. And you could read it before, because it's a new story, but it would spoil a lot of the things for Live Ship.
Yeah.
Short story in The Inheritance about the first settlers in the Rainwilds, and it's great. Which I need to look through that book and see what all of the novellas are and where they fall.
Yeah.
I'm just intrigued. I'm like, we must at some point in some kind of book come across like the history of the Elderlings and everything, because it's just like they keep being relevant to everybody's story.
I'm always shocked when they turn up, even though the thing is called the Realm of The Elderlings. Like, and then Elderlings turn up and like, oh yeah, I forgot that you were supposed to be here.
Yeah. And another point, the others. What are the others? I still can't picture them in my head properly. Are they some kind of like fish being thing? Like, what do they look like?
That chapter, like, I honestly had to read it a couple of times because I was like, I don't get what quite was going on while I was reading it at first, because like all of a sudden Winter was in a cave and he's getting this thing out, which I thought the others that they were seeing were the serpents at that point, because he was seeing both of them and just being like, this one there, this one here, I gotta get it out. And then he gets it out and she's just like, abomination! Like, what's going on? It's like there's so many different like types of creatures and beings in here that I'm just like, what on earth? How are you all connected? What are these abominations? Like, why are you an abomination? What are you? What did you do?
That's a good point, actually, because I just kind of assumed that she was reacting to the fact that they'd kept her captive, but maybe there's actually more to it, and it's like you're something that shouldn't exist.
I feel like it's a serpent or something. Like,
all I know is that they look like fish with sharp teeth, so I'm imagining kind of like piranha faces, but like on weird spindly humanoid kind of bodies.
Yeah.
Right, what question? Oh, what do you think about how the book depicts slavery? It's a difficult question. It's interesting, I think, it's kind of standard like epic fantasy depictions of slavery, I want to say. The thing that surprises me about it is that the people of the Liveship traders and this area of the world consider themselves to be much more civilized than the Six Duchies, which don't have slaves and are more progressive in terms of things like feminism.
This society is kind of gone backwards in one way, because we start out with all the women being the kick-ass ones of the family and the ones that are going to go out and do stuff, and then it's just like, you're going to marry and have kids and live at home.
It seems to be a really new thing in these lands as well. Like, it's not something that's been around for a long time. It's something new. It's something we think we need to know more about. Is it Chalced States?
Yes.
Chalced, yeah. We need to know more about that place for it to kind of solidify why this is even a thing. Because obviously it seems to be that anybody can become a slave if you're down on your luck enough and you have enough debt. But what's like the core root of it? Like, I think we've probably got some more characters to meet from that side of things, which I'm hoping we meet in the third book. Because
the one character that we have met from Chelsea, I'm not a fan of, which is Kyle.
Oh yeah, good point. Yeah,
and they're not the nicest of
We've far not spoken about how much we despise Kyle.
because he disappears, and it's great.
Yeah, that was a bit of, like, as much as I loved it, I do feel like it was a bit of a convenience thing. They're just like, we can't be asked to deal with you right now. We've got plot revelations to have. Go and live on an island.
Yeah.
I was like,
also,
and it's just like, goodbye.
But also it's like helpful because we find out some more about Kennett's past and his kind of obsession with that pirate who did have a live ship and then clearly that kind of went onto those islands and stuff and wrecked his house or whatever.
Okay. Is it Sandra? Costco? I thought we got rid of the annoying character, and then he came in and about everything, and I'm like, he's so annoying.
I think he, to me, was just more like, he was just annoying because he's just an entitled little brat. What he does to, what is the woman called who was his companion? Cyrilla? Yeah, what he does to her is awful. And it's even more awful to the point where, like, afterwards, he doesn't even remember that he did it. And she comes back and he's like, look after me. And she's like, no. And he's like, oh, I didn't mean it. And it's like, well, it's a bit too late for that, isn't it? Which was very surprising to me, actually, because have we had any mentions of sexual assault at all in The Elderlings, like, as a core plotline before?
I don't think so. I think it's been talked about, but I don't feel like we've actually, like, seen it happen to anybody so far.
I was quite surprised because it was, like, pretty brutal to read.
Yeah,
it was, like, especially
I can't remember that person's name in the Fitz trilogy. The woman at the end.
Starling. Is it
Starling? Her, yes. She took back her sexuality, didn't she?
Yeah.
Being previously abused. So that was that. But that's all I can think of.
I did not necessarily like the scene, but it was kind of like the power move scene where Althea almost gets abused, and then she's just like, like you can see the exact point that adrenaline kicks in, and she's just ragging that guy, and she's just like, over the deck you go. She's about to throw him in, just being like, I'm taking the rotten meat out. Off you go. Just like,
we
also
in the comments that I forgot about, Jessica said that Boric is from Chelsea because that's where he got his earring from.
Oh, of course. It's all coming full circle.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And then trigger warning for sexual assault in the next book as well.
Yes. Yeah. That's such a shame. But hopefully it won't happen to anyone as brutally on page as last time. I was kind of like cringing, like, oh, I don't know if I want to read this right now. And I was kind of listening to the audiobook, and I had to kind of just stop the audiobook and like read it physically because I was like, ouch. But I think she's going to have a really good arc, Cirilla. I'm really excited to see how much part she plays in the next book.
It's crazy because we know that Fitz has a continuing story that goes on through many series. But as far as I'm aware, like the Rainwild Chronicles are attached to the Liveship Traders, but it's not a direct continuation of the same characters' stories. So I do find it really interesting how expansive this has been and how it just keeps opening and opening and opening. So like we focused on Bingtown, we also had the pirates and stuff in the first book, but then right from the beginning of this one, we had the introduction of the Satrap and Cirilla, and then at the end of the book, we're in the Rainwild Chronicles. So it's like how I'm a little bit concerned because I think the next book is about 800 pages, and I'm like, how is she going to wrap all of this up when she's expanded it so much? And there are so many plot lines.
We were talking about politics as well. Then I'm like, well, which one? Because we have pirate politics, we have trader politics, and we have religious politics. So I'm like, you want to go for first?
My immediate thought with that was the Bingtown politics leading into like the Satrap politics when I said politics in that, but yeah, we've got the pirate politics as well.
It kind of makes me laugh because like everything's revolving around the live ships and you know the politics behind that, and then there's Kenneth who's just like, I'm gonna become a king.
King, yeah.
Sailing about doing what he wants, and it's like, okay.
Gav says hi Gav, we love you too.
I could just imagine Kenneth going back, like taking a trip to Bingtown at some point and being like, oh, it's on fire. Okay, cool. I'm off.
Yeah.
Fifi said that she was annoyed when the Satrap recovered. Me too, and I'm annoyed that they kept him alive to then be annoying later on in the book. But he is currently on his way back to the Rainwild tree place with Malta, so I'm guessing that he is actually still going to be relevant. Like, why didn't they kill him? Like, I understand he's a bargaining chip, but everyone's kind of agreed that he's useless and he's the problem.
Yeah, I love that scene where he was interacting with Malta, and Malta was like, "Oh my god, did I used to be this spoiled?" Like,
yeah.
The entire like scene that we leave them on is just iconic because he's just like, I don't want to get in the boat. She's like, fine, die. Just leave you here, then bye. And it's just like, I think that scene really solidified me being like, I'm actually a fan of Malta now.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm glad that somebody finally said it to him. He still didn't really seem to pay attention to her though.
He even tries to threaten her and be like, how dare you talk to me that way? And she's just like, I'm the one that's going to row you back. Do you want to? Like,
I'm kind of disappointed in her, especially because we know how ballsy she is. I'm disappointed that she took them with her and didn't just leave them.
Like, yeah, in the boat and then take it over and then get yourself and go.
She could have just rowed back on her own and said, "Oh yeah, I've left him over there. Like, you go deal with him because I don't want to," and he would have been fine. It's not like he was going anywhere.
Yeah, on this nice rock for a while.
Shell has said that some of these things will continue in the next series, so we're not going to see a full wrap-up, but then Jade says that if he does manage to wrap it all up, is amazing, so we'll get some, I'm hoping. Irene has asked what we think about Rain, who is one of my favourite characters. I can't really pinpoint why he's one of my favourite characters, I just really like him. I think he's
dark, broody, and mysterious. Come on, Becca.
Yeah, off a little bit. But I think it's just because he's like genuinely like a decent guy, which is quite rare in especially this series.
All the way through, he's just trying to do his best. I'm like, you're trying.
He reminds me a little bit of Elend from like the Mistborn series, and I don't know why. Just a little bit. Yeah, just a little bit, like similar vibe. I'm like, yes, I like you.
Yeah. I also liked how, what was he doing? What was the last thing we saw him doing?
Oh, he was with Golden in the
Yeah,
underground.
I loved that.
Mm-hmm.
They
I
just
actually
hide-
felt bad for him when like his whole dream was collapsing because he dedicated most of his life to the underground city and learning more about it and trying to do like the right thing. And it was also upsetting that he was right about the dragon, but it wasn't him really who managed to make it come true. Like he never really got to accomplish that by himself when it is like the thing that he's dedicated his life to.
Mm-hmm. I don't know about you guys, but I was also constantly expecting it to come to that point where he realizes what kind of person Malta is. But he's always known, and he sees that kind of potential in her, which is actually really nice. And now I'm rooting for them. Oh, actually, no. Expedition Free Pages says Malta being so young makes me feel weird about their relationship. Yeah, I always forget how old he is. Isn't he like in his like
20s.
mid-20s? Yeah.
And she's possibly 14, but I think she's definitely 13, if not maybe 14.
Oh yeah, good point. And then the sexy dream that they shared. Was it sexy? Oh yeah, it was. There were some people. Yeah, a bit weird actually. Yeah, maybe I'm not rooting for them.
I'm trying to think. Although, like in, I was gonna say in the Farseer trilogy, Molly and Fitz are really young, but at least they're both young. She's only like a year or so older than him.
Yeah.
until Boric comes along. Then it gets
Oh,
Yeah, then it gets weird.
not
But then
romantic.
to be fair, no, she's still only about 16, isn't she? At that time, probably 17 at most.
I don't know. Oh,
Megan says I thought he was 17. He's definitely in his 20s. Has a year passed? Oh, yeah, of course, because we go through the book by season, so at least a year has passed.
Yeah.
Because when we started, Winter was just under 13, I think, so she was older than him. So she would have started either 13 or 14 now we're funny.
Yeah, I know he's definitely in his at least early 20s at the youngest. Yeah, Dragon Phoenix said Rain is one of my favorite characters. It's so interesting how he's viewed by his family as well, especially his brother. His brother is an interesting addition to this. This is another thing, like more characters being introduced, and it's like, well, there's obviously a reason for this because I don't feel like Robin Hobb would have dragged all of them into it just to kind of give another viewpoint on the Rainwild Chronicles and what's going on, unless it was actually going to be relevant. So, like, what's his purpose in being more practical? Because what we've seen of the Rainwild Chronicles so far is mainly focused on the things that Rain is interested in, aside from the bargains, like the trade with the live ships. It's mainly about the dragon and the city and things like that. But there is this whole other side to the Rainwild Chronicles that we haven't really touched upon at all.
I just remembered, like, one of the big things that we should probably talk about. Kefri is going to be a spy.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was weird.
Some agency now. I love that for her.
It's like, is this going to mean that in book 3 I'm going to end up loving her? Because we haven't really seen much of her too far besides it being like, okay, I got to get through this.
Yeah, I think it was. I think both her and Malta went through some things in this book, and they have both matured a lot. Because Kefria, while being a lot older and not a spoiled brat like Malta was, she was very, I want to say she was kind of sheltered. She spent most of her time at home all the time because Kyle was out at sea and she had children. And then her mother, like there's a big thing in the first book about how her mother manages everything that she should really be managing. And it was a big kind of like turning point for her. But I'm wondering if through doing this, she's going to start to respect Althea more because Althea has more of like an active role in everything as opposed to Kefria. So I'm interested to see how that's going to develop with her.
It's the whole like carriage crash. I was going to say car crash, but it's not car. The whole accident, like triggered the reactive side of the maternalism because it's like as soon as her children were hurt, she was just like, I'm going to get involved. You've come for me now. So, as soon as that happened, she was just like, okay, well, I can see how everything's going down, and she's kind of using her own almost like meekness, I guess, to her advantage because she's like, no one's going to notice if it's me. Which is interesting.
Mhm.
I do like the way that the characters, like, we follow 3 trios of main characters, it seems. And I like the dynamics between each of them. So we've already mentioned one, the weird one between Wintrow and Kennit and Etta. And then we've also got like Althea, Brashen, and Amber, and then Veronica, Kefria, and Malta. And like the different like levels of respect between them all and how that was shifting all the way through was just really interesting. I really liked the family dynamic of the, oh my god, what's their surname? What's the family name?
Straight, yeah.
That because they're all just like, we gotta get through this, guys.
Mhm.
There's so much going down.
I'll be interested to see, like, with the Farseer trilogy, like, what point they're at the end of this trilogy in comparison to where they started. That was going to be really interesting to see. With the way that time is passing, though, by the time that things really start to happen between, like, for example, Rain and Malta, they might be considerably older. Because we've already had, like, at least a year passing. And the Farseer trilogy spans a lot of years. I don't think the timeline is going to be quite as expansive in this, but I do think we're going to have another year to pass. Somebody has said, will someone go back for Kyle or will we just forget him? I don't think Robin Hobb's going to leave that open. I think she's going to go back for him, or with somebody mentioning that some of the things lead into the next series, he might turn up somewhere else being annoying.
He was too much of an antagonist not to come back in it. Like, he's got to be resolved somehow, but I'm intrigued to see how, because again, when I said earlier that I can't picture what the end game is, because like everything I wanted and everything that the characters want just doesn't fit together. Like, Kyle isn't going to fit back in with his family now. That's just
Didn't Kefria have some sort of revelation on, I don't actually think I ever loved him? Like,
yeah. Do you think Hobb will try and give him a redemption arc, though? Because she's done that before to characters that we've been like, and then she's made it.
She's gone way too far with him to even bother bringing him back. Like, he just got progressively worse in the first book to the point where, like, there is literally nothing he could have done that was worse than what he'd done. Like,
he sold his own son into slavery.
Yeah.
Like,
how
but do you...
only did he do that? He did it out of spite.
Yeah.
He didn't even have a good reason for doing it. He was just being spiteful.
I feel like we'll get the thing where he's like on his way home and it redeems everybody else because they haven't killed him, but then he gets eaten by something. And it's like, oh, now it's fine.
I would love him to come home at the end of the trilogy where everybody else has now made it back and expect to be welcomed and be like, oh my god, all this stuff has happened to me. I've had a terrible time. And everyone's like, leave. Like, we don't want you here. That would be the best way for his storyline to wrap up.
Or just get like Vivi just to get a hand and be like, off you go.
That would be funny.
We haven't spoken about Ronica, actually. Somebody said when Ronica chose to stay in Bingtown, it was such a powerful moment. I was really sad about that. Did we come back to her at all after that?
Well, I do remember Jeffrey being like, she's still there? Is she all right?
Yeah.
Aside from that little bit, the first bit of the first book where she's taking the ship away from Althea, aside from that, like, first couple of 100 pages, she's one of my favorite characters of the series. I would say I really like her.
No, great. I love how she's kind of getting closer to Malta as well, or Malta's earning her respect. I think it's nice. Excited to see more interactions with those two, and hopefully she's okay.
Selden's now an active character.
I love Selden. Cute.
He was just waiting for Malta to come back.
Yeah.
That was really cute. I wasn't happy about Rain's kind of willingness to sacrifice him, though. Like, if you come across a small child when you're on your way to do something else, you take the small child to safety and then you come back. Like, the small child is the priority. You don't just drag him with you and be like, oh, he's probably going to die, but I need to do this thing. But I did like the moment that they had at the end.
Yeah.
Also, how the dragon went back for them.
I know, so cool. Loved it.
I like that.
He was like so like passive about it as well. It was like, oh, I don't really need to, but I might as well. I've lived for ages.
That's one of the things I can tell she's probably going to be one of my favorite characters in the third book. She was just like, all the way through, she's talking about how like she's kind of bitter because she's been trapped all the time and like she's stupid humans and whatever, and then she's just like, well, I guess I could go back. Like,
Yeah.
all of his life.
It was so frustrating. I was like,
Convince herself that she doesn't care, but really?
Yeah, it's cute.
I was so frustrated when she was leaving because I was like, it would literally take you 2 seconds.
Yeah.
2 seconds to save a dragon.
I like how Robin Hobb made us question it though, because we all kind of, I think we were all expecting it as we're reading it, like, oh, the dragon's going to save them. Then it just kind of goes off, and then we're like, oh, is she though?
Whenever there's like a dragon involved, I always imagine the scene of like people heroically riding on the back of a dragon, and that just didn't happen. So I was like, oh, when is she coming back? I was like, yeah.
Hopefully it'll be the opening scene of the next one, but
I'm just reading what people are saying about Kyle. Pretty much, yeah, we're going to see him again.
Yeah.
Maybe the people that Kenneth left to feed him will forget to feed him, and he will just die in that dark hole.
Fifi said that there's a lot to Key Island in Kenneth, which means that we will end up going back there because that is his home. The way he treats his mother, I'm not about. Although I did kind of get the, like when you've got, it's normally like your nan, where you try and just pacify your nan so that she'll stop nagging you. Like I got those vibes from Kenneth.
Yeah.
Yeah, we're definitely going to see that island again because it was too close to actually learning something about Kenneth and how he became to be the way he is. But like, not go back to again.
Just replying in the comments. Actually, John asked what Robin Hobb book do you recommend to start with, and I would definitely recommend starting at Assassin's Apprentice.
Yeah, agreed.
Because you get all of the good stuff if you start right at the beginning.
And it's slow to get into, but my God, like, look at us now. We're all like Hobb fans for life.
I was thinking, like, about the difference between where we're at now with Robin Hobb compared to how we were feeling when we were doing Game of Thrones.
Oh yeah, yeah.
So
as soon as we watched that last season, we were just all hating the live shows after that because it was just like reminding us of like what could be. Oh, disappointment. Yeah.
Fifi has asked a very intriguing question that I had not even considered, and it is, who do you think Kenneth is?
Oh, like beside Kenneth? Like
I read that and I was like, he's just Kenneth to me. Like, obviously, he has this background with Egrot, which I believe is the pirate's name. Aside from that, I thought he was just like I was going to say I thought he was like just like a urchin kind of character that's been a pirate, but he's not, because from what little we get of his background, he grew up in that big house with his family until Egrot came.
Followed it up saying that her theory is that he's a Ludlook from the crew that went down last time Paragon went down.
But then why would they just settle on Key? Is it Key Island?
Yeah, I don't think that would make sense.
He seems to have too much of a fascination about live ships for Paragon not to put him off if that was the case, I feel. Because he went into this with a glamorized view of live ships, whereas Paragon is not that. Kind of ruined this view he's got where he's just like, I'm going to have a live ship, it's going to be wonderful, if he literally got thrown off ship by one.
Fifi says that she thinks his wizard charm is a piece of Paragon, which could maybe make sense because Paragon has bits of him missing, which could have washed up on the other's beach.
Yeah. Good point.
Isn't Ingrot Kenneth's father? Meanwhile, someone said, I think Ingrot killed his dad.
Yeah.
Didn't Ingrot kill his dad though?
Is he the dad, or did he kill the dad?
No, I thought he killed him.
Yeah, I think he did as well. He knows how to talk to a live ship, and Egrot might have taken him on Paragon up the Rain World. Yes, because what came in this book that I completely forgot about until now is that there was talk of another pirate taking another live ship. And then it turned out that it was Egrot. And then we have this weird thing where, like, Kenneth seems to have been abused by this pirate, and this pirate tortured / killed his family. And now he's pretty much just repeating everything that pirate did. which is interesting, but I want to know what, like, is it Paragon? I can't remember if we've decided on that in the book.
I'm thinking now with the Ludluck thing. And someone, oh.
Oh. Bye, Cody.
I like the zoomed in look.
I don't like this. Yeah, with the Ludluck thing, that he could be a Ludluck heir, and then he could have been like brainwashed by this Egrot character in the same way that Wintrow's being brainwashed by Kennet into almost like forgetting his previous family.
Sorry about that. Hang on.
That's interesting. But that doesn't.
Maybe.
Does that explain his mother?
Well, she's had her tongue cut out, hasn't she? So even if she did know anything, she couldn't tell us.
Unless they went out on Paragon, went to Key Island, stayed there where Egrot found them, and took Paragon.
But why would they have gone there and stayed there? I reckon Egrot
which would be Kennet's
Paragon, overtook the family and kept them on the ship, got rid of his mother's tongue, killed the dad, brainwashed Kennet, and then whenever he was, I don't know, overthrown or died or whatever, that's when the mother then migrated to Key Island. I don't know, I'm clutching at straws. It could be
where we have a theory that just hurts everyone's brain.
Yeah.
I'm not following what's going on.
Because she said she thinks it will look, so we're just trying to make that happen.
Okay.
And I said it didn't make sense, but I could see it now. In the whole Kennet being brainwashed by the pirate in the same way that Wintrow's being brainwashed by Kennet. Like, I could see that
Paragon is scared of pirates, which is true.
He is.
I think that Kennet's family were perhaps trying to settle on the island.
Mm-hmm.
Fifi thinks what I think, and I no longer remember what that is. That they went there. So, like, I'm thinking that they went there. If it is Paragon, they went there. Maybe Kennet's dad met Kennet's mum, and that's why they stayed. And then Egrot came and took Paragon, with all of the killing and torture in the middle. And yeah, I think Egrot was sexually abusing Kennet, which is what I gathered from part of what's the book called? Mad Shit.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys. I appreciate it. You make my theory happen. Is there anything in particular that we haven't covered? Also, anybody in the chat want us to cover?
I just love that Jade and Chaos are talking amongst themselves. Like, I want to say so much and I can't. It's so hard. Sorry, guys.
This reminded me when you were talking about islands. Again, I said this to Becca. I was like, what is the deal with the island that all the others are on? Because they keep saying everything that lands on this island doesn't leave, and yet things keep leaving and nothing keeps happening. So I'm like, yeah, because they all keep leaving. Like, why is this a thing? Like, what is the island? It's weird.
I'm gonna look up a map because I want to see where the other's island is.
At least 2 things have left by now, if not more.
Yeah.
This whole thing of nothing that comes on this island leaves again is just wrong.
Yeah, there has to be some kind of like fallout from that. Otherwise, she wouldn't have put it in the book, I don't think. Hopefully.
Yeah, like that's where the others have come in more, because they got enraged when she left. So
yeah.
What are they going to do?
Well, I also thought that maybe they were known as being the Oracle because they were just taking the serpent's knowledge. The she who remembers. They were getting their like visions or whatever from her. That's why they were so pissed, maybe.
That is something that is so obvious that didn't click until literally one of them said, "You're taking our Oracle."
Yeah.
Oh.
Well, yeah. There we go.
I just looked where the other's island is to see whether it was near, because like the magic of the world seems to be gathered around the Mountain Kingdom and the Realm Wilds, but the other's island is like way far away. It's the southeastern point of the map, pretty much, just open
love
sea around it.
I love how on the map it's like not reliable.
Not reliably charted.
Well, you all keep landing there, so you can clearly get to it somehow. Just what?
You think that? Oh, yeah, we haven't. Althea and Greg.
Oh, yeah.
I was kind of into that to start off with. I really like Greg. I mean, he has old-fashioned beliefs, which are actually modern beliefs in this time that we're in in the Liveship Traders. But I liked him. He's very clearly not for Althea. Maybe for Kefria, if Kefria wasn't with Kyle, but not for Althea. I'm pretty sure he said something offensive to her. I can't remember what it was.
He did kind of insinuate that like Brashen had taken advantage and she didn't want it, even though that she was like, no, it was me too, and he just wouldn't accept it. And he was like basically saying you're damaged goods now. If this gets out, no one else is gonna want you, kind of thing. And I was like, okay, I liked you up until now.
Yeah, I was sad about that because I really liked him up until that point.
Yeah. We also have Lavoy and Jack. I like Jack a lot. Is that the one who's like Amber's pal?
Yeah.
From the Six Witches, yeah.
Is that a character that we know?
I don't know anymore. I'm so confused.
I think Jack is blonde, and I can't remember what Starling looks like. That's the only person I thought that it could be. But I can't remember what Starling looks like. Let's see if I can find Starling.
I feel like we're just going to spend most of our time reading these books being like, okay, this person, they're new, but who are they really? Like, we met them before.
Anytime we see someone introduce themselves, it's like,
yeah,
who are you actually?
I found 2 different fan arts of Starling, and in both, she is dark-skinned and dark-haired. So I would say that Jack is not Starling.
No.
Megan just said Starling is short and dark-haired, so the opposite of Jack.
Yeah. And also Starling. Yeah.
Starling, that's true. But didn't they find some sort of like companionship at the end, like some sort of like mutual grudging agreement with each other? Lavoy, is he the first mate?
I think so.
The Umbrashen's ship. I don't really know what to make of him at the moment. I thought it was a bit of an arsehole to start off with, but he turned out to just be like,
yeah,
great, but not bad.
It's kind of.
What do you think of Brashen in this book? Because I feel like his ego kind of kicked in.
I just don't think there was enough of them, considering that Althea very much felt like the main character of the first book, with like being like secondary main character. Just not enough of Althea and Brashen, and their perspective I think leaves off the earliest in the book, and then we just jump to Malta and the Rain Wilds, and then that's just the end of the book, and we don't see them for ages. So I definitely wanted more of them.
It's interesting because the synopsis of these editions at least always presents Kenneth and Althea as if they're the main characters. Like it's always like, this is what Kenneth's doing, meanwhile this is what's happening with Althea. And then it'll do like a vague thing about how like Big Town's doing. So it's like the synopsis of this is literally like, the Virtue's being taken by Pirate King Kenneth, Winter's there, and then it's like leagues away, Althea's doing this, and then
and then Malta, and then it says Malta as our other main one. Makes sense.
So it's like they're being set up as the main characters, I guess. It's interesting. The one thing that I do, like, I remember Jade mentioned at the beginning, like the physical reaction that I would have reading some of these scenes. There was 2 specific scenes. I can't remember the second one, but the first one. Again, the reason why it impressed me so much is because this was concerning characters that weren't even part of like the story we were reading. It was somebody who we barely knew, but like the intensity of the emotion in it, I was just like, oh, because it was the scene when they're trying to sell Paragon, and there's the family member, I can't remember her name. The family member just goes off on this rage rant about how the family can't move on because everybody knows what's happened, and he's just laying there, and like the anger and like all of that coming out. I was reading it, I'm like, oh my god, goosebumps on my arms, because that just when you know all the history behind it. And I saw a lot of reviews saying that this book was just like tedious to get through and really boring, and I was like, but if you didn't know and have that big of a build build up, it just wouldn't have that effect.
Did I struggle with this one at all? I think that the first one was definitely the easiest one to get into that I've read. But I don't think this one really dragged at any point.
No, to me, the pacing was just completely different, I think, to the first one.
I definitely I felt like I read this one quicker, at least.
Same.
I definitely read this one quicker.
I think I read it in about maybe a week. Do you know, it takes me a good 2 weeks to get through like a 900-page high fantasy.
Yeah.
2 weeks, but I was, doing uni and stuff, so to read other terms at the same time.
Alex says the blurbs of the UK paperbacks are awful.
They are, to be fair. Mainly because they tend to spoil things. Mainly because they tend to spoil things.
Oh yeah.
I try not to read them because I'm like, I want to spoil too much.
Like the one for Farseer, obviously I'm not going to say what the spoiler was, but the last one was just like, and then this happened to Molly, and we're like, well.
Yeah.
There is because I've been reading the ebooks just because I find them easier to read because most of Robin Hobb's like physical books are really small print. I got to the end of one of the Farseer books and it was like it wasn't even Tawny Man, it was the first synopsis for the first book of the Fitz and the Fool, like straight after the last page, and it was like Fitz is doing this with this character, and I'm like, great, well, thanks. Thanks. I suppose it would make sense Kennet and Paragon are related as he can connect to Vivacia like a Liveship trader would be able to. That's the point, actually. But I still don't understand how they do that in terms of like how they feel.
That's a family necessarily thing. I think it's just the blood and that the Rainwild people have sold into this. Oh, it has to be your family. I think it could be anyone as long as the wood absorbs their blood.
No, I feel you.
Oh, about absorbing the blood and stuff. The whole scene where he's having his leg cut off, and I was like,
oh god, yeah.
I literally gave Becca a warning. I was like, chapter 6. Was it chapter 6? I think it was chapter 6. And I was like, prepare for it.
Robin Hobb is really graphic with the like gore stuff, especially with like removing body parts. And what is it that she skins at home?
So it's like things.
Bears?
No.
Yeah,
she skins mooses and stuff.
Oh, okay.
It's like a character bio thing. It says that she spent some time, and I'm like, yeah, you can tell with the way you really get into anatomy when you're writing about things like this.
She learned how to raise a wolf cub, skin a moose, and survive the wilderness. And I'm like, you don't say.
Yeah.
Here's how to amputate a leg through the bone and all the cartilage, and it's like, great, thanks.
But it's never gratuitous in my eyes. You know how some books it's just really gratuitous, whereas in her books it's like you see why this had to happen for a lot of cases.
I've just seen Emily's comment that says, "Oh my god, definitely not reading this book." #squeamish vegetarian. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
Where Alfie is just skinning animals in the magic was rough. It was definitely rough.
Yeah, it was.
But would explain why Kennet actually has a connection to Vivacia, because literally his entire leg was cut off and her dead.
It is interesting that they do say that it has to be family. This is interesting actually, because like Jade just said, like she doesn't think that it does have to be family. I think that the only reason it has to be family is because the character of the ship, like the personality of the ship, is built on the memories of the family, so it kind of makes sense for it to remember. But then everyone's told Paragon that he's mad because of what he's done to his family and all of this stuff, when it could actually be, as Cody said, that he's made out of 2 different types of wood, 2 wizard woods, and it's just not joining up right for him.
I also do kind of hope that these theories are correct, because it would make sense as to his fear of pirates and stuff as well. I'm just like hoping that maybe he get answers to that.
In terms of Paragon's literally wanting his eyes carved back in. Like, there could be a scene where Amber starts carving into him and it's just like, you're not entirely made of the same wood.
Yeah. Maybe.
Walking down a hill during the leg amputation scene, it made my legs so numb I kept almost falling out.
Yeah.
I get that. I get squeamish tingles whenever like I'm reading about like nails and eyes are the worst for me, and I'm just like, no.
I was reading and listening at one point. I was just like, I'm putting the book down. I can't consume this.
Yeah.
It's just like, horrible.
Yeah, I remember Wintrow's finger removal being horrible as well.
Oh yeah, that was rough.
Just Ophelia, I want to know if she's coming back. I hope she is, because I really like her.
Yeah, me too.
Is it in this book or the previous one where she just like has a full-on rage and she's just like dunked to that ship?
It's this one, isn't it? Because that's what coming into port and
Sets
this
off right off. They're trying to set her on fire. It's like, nope, down you go.
Yeah.
It was a great moment.
It's just like, no, it's not a live ship. They've got arms. Which is like why, because it would be so difficult, like considering so much of like Kennett's storyline is about taking over a live ship. I'm like, you must have to. I'm not going to say what I was about to say. You must have to approach from the side the arms aren't at. Because I was going to say you have to take them from behind, but but you won't, because like if the arms can reach, then you can literally just swap the entire ship away. So I'm just like, it must be really difficult to catch a live ship. Because, you know,
I just noticed that Fifi's thing for the Liveship Traders, like the one for the Farseer trilogy, was that Burrick is a man. This one, it's the like she's adamant that Kennet is a Ludlook. Everything to do with him in ships is because he's a Ludlook. We're gonna have to for the next one. I mean, it's in February, so we'll see.
Yeah.
Because like, here's why.
And I can't wait for the Malta Wintrow reunion. Were they ever close? I don't think they like each other very much. I don't know how old was Malta when Wintrow left, like the first time to go to a monastery.
Oh, God knows.
So did they even like know each other?
I feel like it would just be strange anyway, because a lot of his family just like, and then there's Wintrow, like they don't understand him, but they're like, you just go do you. Go over there and do whatever you're doing, and he's going to come back and they're all like, what, you're a pirate?
I just remember something about Wintrow, actually. Wintrow's stained glass things from the beginning of the first book are now coming true. But why? Like, why did he have those premonitions to start off with? Is he just skilling?
He had the weird thing at the end where it's just like, I'm going to be the one that remembers everything for them. And I'm like, why? It's just like, I don't think he's actually, in terms of where he's going now, looking back on him being in this monastery at the beginning, I'm like, I don't think he would have been like overly religious as he was. I think he just had this weird connection that he didn't know what to do with. And the monastery was a sort of place that was just kind of like more accepting of that than if he said it to anybody else. So now that that's kind of being connected through a different way, that's why he's fallen into piracy, because it's like, well, here's where everything's happening. Let's see what he said about that, but this chapter, it was in the chapter that had everything, so.
Oh, that's something I'm just reading through my notes as well, because I have quite a few things. I have another Amber Thor thing, which is that Amber remembers the 6 Duchies dragons in a lot of detail.
Yeah.
Like, she was there at the time. And why are Wintrow and Amber having the same dreams? They're both dreaming of serpents and dragons a lot, which, apart from skilling, I can't think of any other reason why Wintrow would be.
I just remember the thing that I was saying in the first one as well, but I'll come back to it after if there's more. In the same chapter. Okay, so I remember saying in the first book, live show, that like there's this weird look surrounding Kennet, and I'm like, what is it? And again, in the scene with that, there's a whole weird thing where they're trying to get back to Vivacia, and like things are going down, and it's just like, I shall live, I command it, and then it gets like boosted along by the serpent back to Vivacia, and I'm like, what? Just, why does he have this ability to command
I don't know whether it's just an ego thing with him though, because that thing with the serpent was actually because of Wintrow's actions, not his. Like the serpent was helping Wintrow, not Kennit. Kennit just happened to be there, and he's so arrogant, and he thinks that he has luck, that he is the kind of person who would demand that he would live,
Yeah.
and then just take everything that has nothing to do with him to be a sign.
I think it's interesting because the bit I actually tabbed was just underneath that where it says the king worked his first miracle. So I'm like, that's the first time he's been called king by anybody besides himself. And that's his first miracle. So everything before was probably just luck. So I'm just like, what's going on here? Like, it was a weird chapter.
He always falls on his feet, and I'm wondering if it's something to do with the wizard wood charm he has. Has he always been lucky, or is it something that's just happened since he got that?
What do we think Malta's big thing is that she's going to do? Because we know that she's definitely important because Amber, is it who said it? Fifi said, didn't Amber also say that maybe she should stay with Malta? Yes, because she knows that she's going to do something, but she has no idea what or why or how it could be Malta.
Yeah.
Is it because she woke the dragon? Was that it?
Yeah, I think that's probably it. Like she woke the dragon.
Amber says that she doesn't know that Malta is going to end up in the Rain Wilds and going to end up in the city and stuff. Or the, prophecies. So maybe she does know that. Who knows what she knows?
I do have a note that it's admirable that Kyle still manages to be the worst while he's being held captive. Like, does nothing for him. He's still awful.
Like at the start of that whole dynamic on the ship, like I can just imagine the straight-faced dead eyes that everybody was giving Kyle because he's there trying to be demanding, and I'm like, you're literally injured. What are you trying to accomplish here? Yeah.
Something that I wrote down about Vivacia is that she hooks her hands into talons as she pursues the first slaver that she goes for, like a dragon. And I wrote, is Vivacia called to piracy because of her being a dragon? Because of because she's like really into it.
Also, this is a good point. Kennit always thinks about his luck. Maybe it's Hobb messaging with us hinting he's a good luck. And also maybe his charm is a good luck charm. I don't know.
That is interesting. Fifi said, do the Vestrix have the skill? And we don't know because they don't, if they do, they don't call it the skill.
Yeah.
Would it be the skill? Or would it be the, I'm trying to think of like in terms of talking to the live ships and connecting with
the wit. Yeah, instead maybe it's the old magic,
It might be the wit because technically they're dragons.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking.
It's just so confusing.
Yeah. Maybe the dragons are like where the wit comes from, and then the elderlings are where the skill comes from, and that's kind of they were kind of joined, weren't they, in living harmoniously together.
Something I wrote down about Paragon is that it's interesting that Paragon has no memories when he's made out of them.
Yeah.
It's just reading through my notes, and I went on a wild ride with this book.
I'm still trying to find what it was that Wintrow said about taking icons.
I was surprised when David died because he was too much of a pest, I felt, to die like so suddenly. I really thought that he was going to continue digging a hole for them.
Yeah, I know. I'm feeling too.
And he just died really suddenly.
I don't think I have anything written down. Slight instruct.
Oh, I did have a theory, and I don't know if I'm reaching here, but when Brashen gets blisters on his face from the serpent's toxins, the blisters are compared to the Rain Wild Traders' warts, and I was wondering if that had something to do with the Rain Wild River being so close to them, and that is why they have so many skin problems and face problems.
Yeah, because it's the dragon's toxins in the water.
Yeah.
And that's why only the live ships can travel up it, because it's just like pure toxin.
Yeah.
That makes a lot of sense.
Why did my brain just go, what if Malta just like falls in? She's so like obsessed with her appearance and looking right, and she's like repulsed by everybody else wearing veils and stuff. Like that would just be.
I feel like she's past that. I think at this point she's more likely to jump in.
Maybe she'll just push Costco in and then be like, "Oh, that's why."
Maybe.
Jessica said we saw the play on words in the Farseer trilogy with the names of the royal family, so we know Hobb likes to do that kind of thing in terms of like good luck and good luck.
Yeah.
I don't like it when she does that because it's so obvious that it's like I miss it and then I feel stupid.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah. Yeah, I did write down, I can't remember what specific thing made me think this, but I did write down the Elderlings are skill users.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm guessing, does that make the Elderlings just kind of like cavemen and evolution kind of got rid of them and the people who have the skill are descendants of the Elderlings?
Well, it seems like they were taken out by some kind of earthquake volcano thing in the Rain Wilds, right? So like what happened to the rest of them? Was it all, if they were just in the Mountain Kingdom, maybe that was why? It feels like there's some kind of apocalyptic thing that maybe got rid of the Elderlings, but I don't know. I need to know what happened.
I just keep thinking Pompeii, except one's been taken out by a volcano.
Yeah. I also do wonder the everything that you're not supposed to take from the island. What if they are literally good luck charms? That's why you're not allowed to take them, and that's why Kenneth is like straight up chilling all the time.
Can it be a little bit? Oh, what do you think about Malta manipulating Rain? It's one of the things I dislike the most about her because I think everyone she was manipulating were like genuinely good people. Like her friend's brother, who's Brashen's brother, isn't he? So in Trell, yeah. He was a bit pathetic and a bit dramatic, and I don't understand how he jumped like so far into being in love with Malta over nothing. But like Rain's a decent guy, and I would say that she manipulates him the least because at least she didn't say
that sort of manipulation for him. I think he's too smart for that. I think he sees right through her.
Yeah, he does seem to know who she is at heart, which I was surprised at. I was like, oh, and you're still interested? But like clearly he saw her potential or whatever.
But the Brashen one was really uncomfortable. It manipulates everybody, and it's just that was what got to me the most, I think, especially the Brashen scene, because like I said at the beginning, the majority of the time I can kind of respect her a bit, having the audacity to do what she's doing, but then it just got too far, and I was like, because she's embarrassed.
I don't see the point in that scene though as well. Like, why did she do that to him? What did she get from that other than just the power of knowing she could make someone feel uncomfortable?
Yeah, I don't think that scene actually had any relevance.
I don't think it did.
This is what makes me uncomfortable because I'm like, we ended up with a weird relationship ended in the Farseer trilogy, so I'm like, how are we going to end this? Why was that there? I was like, what about when they all meet again? Oh no.
I think it was just there to make us uncomfortable as a reader, honestly, for her redemption to be even more of a good feeling, to see her realize that she was wrong to do that, which she does later on in the book. Maybe it was there just to kind of stick it, the point further that she really does think she can get anyone and anything she wants.
Yeah, it was like it could, if it doesn't come back up again, that scene could just literally just show that Malta's not this master manipulator that she thinks she is, just to be like, she is still a young girl.
Yeah, still really naive. Yeah.
I was going to say something I've completely forgot.
Especially as well because she's been going around this entire time being like, I'm going to have this ball to say, like, to introduce myself to everything, and everyone's going to fall in love with me, and like every guy she comes across from that point onwards is just she's trying to win them over. It just doesn't work.
I want to know what's going to happen when Malta eventually meets her father again, because I do think that she will, because she weirdly idolizes him, and I'm wondering if that's going to continue when he comes back, or whether she's going to just like see right through him, like her mother has never done. But
I think she'll see.
Together anymore because he's going to come back, still see her as this little girl. She's going to get mightily pissed off at that because everyone else has come to respect her.
Exactly.
That's
He's going to see right through it. Mm-hmm.
She's going to be like, I have literally released a dragon for you.
Yeah.
And he's just going to be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah, everyone's saying that scene with Brashen is just to show like how self-absorbed she is and that she does what she wants.
Yeah. It was interesting to see her reaction when she got that kind of response from a man she didn't want it from, though, wasn't it, with the satrap? And she was like, oh shit. And I was like, oh yeah, okay. You see, it's dangerous actually trying to seduce these men.
Hannah says she thinks that if Kyle turns up again, she'll go back to her old ways.
I think she'll be tempted, but I think she's come too far already.
We might see a bit of that where it's like, oh no, she's reverted back, and then at some point she'll sit with it.
And then Dragon Phoenix has also said Kyle doesn't respect women either, which is going to be a big problem for Malta, which is possibly why she won't like him when he comes back.
And I can imagine Kyle's not going to be happy to find out that she's engaged to Rain either.
Well, he's going to come back, and what have we had so far? Like, just in this book, we've had Veronica literally sacrifice herself so the entire family can get away. We've had Kefri, who's now a spy, and Malta release a dragon, and Kyle's going to come in and be like, I was locked up on an island. It's like, no one cares, Kyle.
I lost our shit. I lost all our money.
Yeah, just like, do you realize what we've done to make up for that?
I'm wondering if Bingtown's even still there.
Yeah.
We haven't seen whether it's actually burnt to the ground or not yet.
Yeah. Some of the best scenes for me were when just talking about like good points in the book is when Paragon finally set sail and you could see that he was starting to love it, and just like the camaraderie with Althea and Brashen and Amber and it just made my heart very happy to see Paragon happy for a little bit.
He is a little sweet.
I had to I couldn't help but imagine like how scary that would be though for him, because he's literally blind, and it's nothing for him to feel besides the sea. Like, I don't blame him for being scared for wanting to go back out again, because I'm like, you will have no idea where you are. Like, you literally have to rely on the people that are on the ship, which is usually vice versa.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's interesting because they keep thinking, well, you know, what if he capsizes us all? And it's like, well, if he does, then he's going to be just in the middle of the sea floating around because he can't see where he's going.
Yeah.
It's not entirely a threat like it is, because they see him as he's a mad ship and, you know, what is logic, but I feel like he's going to realize that as well himself. He doesn't want to be left alone, and every time he's shown and like lashed out at all, it's been out of fear, like something's being let go.
I'm definitely interested to see what is going to happen with Paragon and Vivacia now they've come into contact with those serpents, especially now that I think the serpents are on a path to intercept the live ships because they want to eat them and reclaim the memories. Will they work together?
Yeah, I just hope that She Who Remembers Serpent thing gets to them first, because now we've got like a ticking clock. They need to get to the Rainwild before the weather changes, right? Otherwise we won't have any more dragons. So
Besides that one.
They've been around for a long time though. They've been children for a long time. Like what? Why haven't they died?
Well, like, we've got so many different stories like gradually coming together, because there's both Vivacia and Paragon floating about somewhere. We've got a dragon coming to find the serpents who are migrating. And then the other coming to find them, and I'm like, what? When all of these collide, it's going to be something. You know, I've actually, like, going back to a point from earlier where we were saying about the live ships not necessarily being a family thing, right at the beginning of the book, actually, because when we see the Trooper's family, and obviously Rain understands more about how these logs work that they have from the dragons, he actually says, a log broken free of its contents becomes free to take on the memories and thoughts of those in daily contact with it. Nothing to do with families. It should
yeah, exactly.
Does the serpents must have been stuck since the volcano? Yeah, but they should be dead. Like if I'm assuming if a caterpillar doesn't turn into a butterfly when it's supposed to, it dies.
But because they're magical serpents, do they, instead of dying, do they just forget again and have to go through the whole thing again to remember, and then just forget again and have to do it all again?
Mm-hmm.
Well, they're
Rather
all
than die, they
referencing that they're running out of time and stuff, and that they've gone through it before. So I presume they've stuck in a cycle of some sort.
yeah.
So does anybody in the chat have any more topics as well?
Third book, we're gonna feel a time-sensitive plot line because we are quite literally against the clock in quite a few different time frames now. Like all the serpents are on a time frame, the She Who Remembers is on a time frame, the dragon's on a time frame. Like they're all trying to find each other before it's too late.
It is. I think when we left the book, it was high summer, and I think they have to be where they need to be before it starts going cold. But then what's going to happen to them if they eat the live ships instead? Because that's what they've decided. Like, oh, we don't know what we're doing, so we're going to go eat all these memories and find out the things that we should know. So like what? I can't even like articulate where I'm going with this. Like, what will happen to them if they do that instead of becoming dragons? Are they just really clever serpents?
I don't know.
Because they seem to, or are they going for the ships because they want the memories so that they know how to do it themselves?
Yeah, I think that's what it is. They just want to know how they find their way back, I guess. It's one of the main things. They need like a dragon to tell them how to cocoon themselves in wood. I don't know yet.
So it's like, is it Tintadia, the dragon? She's just like, I need to find them so they know how to do it. It's just like, oh, she turned into like a mother of the serpents all of a sudden.
Yeah.
And then the She Who Remembers, who isn't a dragon yet, but she's like, but I know because I remember. And
Yeah.
like, seems to have this destiny.
The idea of having She Who Remembers as some sort of gatekeeper kind of implies that she always has the same task, which means does she just stay a serpent and hold all of their memories so that the new children can... Oh no, because she's doing it with them because she said they were talking about how there wouldn't be anyone to do the next batch.
Because it just keeps saying that she has this destiny, and I'm like, well, what is it? Because it literally ends on she settled into it and continues towards her destiny.
Is that where then the serpent baby thing comes in that Etta had? Like they need another serpent baby to be the next one.
She's
They don't know about the dragon yet.
Remembers
well, the weird little serpent baby charm thing. Isn't She Who Remembers following their ship?
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
It's just like the one who remembers who is going to tell them how to migrate. And get my baby.
Maybe actually, maybe it's because Wintrow has all of the memories now. So if Wintrow has a baby with Etta, maybe that will have like a knock-on effect.
Yeah.
And that would be why it was a weird serpent baby.
Also, I hate that. I hate that idea that Wintrow would be like with Etta. Don't know. Just don't like it. It's like more of a big sister relationship right now, and I don't want that to change. You know?
Feel that.
Yeah.
Although we always read this at we start and we're like, the characters, the plot line, and then it's like, theories are blowing my mind.
Yeah.
And by the time we come to the Liveshow of the third book, I'm not going to remember what we said and be like, wait.
I think, does anybody have anything else to pick up on? Because I think we might be about done.
I think we've pretty much covered everything.
As soon as we end this live show, we'll just be like, oh my god, I missed something.
We'll have like a new theory that would be like, oh, I wish we talked about that. Yeah.
I'm wary of both Clef because I'm like, he's too pure and innocent to survive. And Selden, because I'm just like, we've got two young boys here.
I know.
Maybe they're the ones that we follow in the real wild if it's a YA one.
Maybe, yeah.
Got these two little boys, and I'm like, why are you here? Like, what's your point? Especially Clef, because he just comes in and is like, you have to make your own family, and you can choose to be happy. And I'm like, you're far too cheerful for this book. Why?
Yeah.
It's like
You're from the Duchies, they're all miserable there. What the hell?
Maybe she just put that one character into absolutely destroy us because we'll be like, oh, sweet and pure, and then it's like death.
how big is the age gap between Wintro and Etta? I think is she like early 20s, maybe late teens?
I think she's late teens. I get that back.
She's young.
14, 15 now.
Do you think anyone will die? I think less than die. It's too pure.
Yeah, I think it'll be like a side character that we all really, really like, and I'll be really annoyed.
Do we think any of the main ones are going to die?
I don't know.
I think there's that somebody definitely could die.
Far too big of a cast.
Maybe Brashen, actually. I could see Brashen dying.
Yeah.
Maybe just all of the live ships, as we were saying earlier.
I think Etta could maybe in childbirth or something. Like, I feel like she's a side character maybe that would like cause a stir. I guess we have to kind of figure out who do we think are going to be the key players in the series after this. So like halfway through the next book, and we can be like, maybe they'll live and everyone else just dies. Everyone.
Fifi said I think Kenneth will have to die. Possibly actually, because he's not a good guy. Mostly. I can't see him having enough of a redemption arc to redeem all of the things that he's done.
Oh, it was implied Kenneth would die by the charm. That's not the right comment. There we go.
It's true. He's also, the charm does mention that he is following the same cycle as Egret as well. I'm assuming that Kenneth overthrew him. Or somebody. I'm pretty sure that Kenneth knows where the treasure is. That all of Egret's like great treasure, because that guy on the ship was like, I know where it is, and Kenneth was like, no, you don't. There was no survivors. Like, no. Nobody knows where the treasure is.
Maybe then.
And Kenneth famously lives no survivors.
Yes.
Very true. Okay, so I think that might be about it.
Yeah.
Cool. We will be back in early February for the last book of this trilogy, and then we are currently working out a schedule for Tawnyman, Rain Wild, and The Fitz and the Fool, which we will announce. Well, I'll let you guys know in the next live show, and then at least me, will do an announcement video for the schedule for it. But we're not taking that long of a break. I don't think it'll only be 1 or 2 months, so not too long before we do the next 10 books. Can you believe that? We've only done 6, there's 10 left.
When are we going to be ending this?
2023. I think it will end December 2022, not 2023 maybe. I can't remember. I worked it out, but then I forgot, so.
Wow.
It gets confusing because the months that we read them in are not the months of the live show, so trying to keep track of all of the different things, and I just forget.
I am absolutely, like, when we get into the final stretch, like just before the last live show, I'm going to watch the first one and be like, oh, look at us country little bumpkins. Like,
Yeah.
Look at us when we didn't have wrinkles.
We didn't know what was going on.
Jessica said for us to read The Willful Princess and The Piebald Prince before Tawnyman. She's only about 30 pages, isn't it?
Yeah, I think so.
Very short.
Okay, good to know.
I've recommended it. I might actually, I've got a short story collection that I think would be good to read after this. So in the break that we have, I might read that.
Oh, yeah. That would be good. Okay. Well. Fifi said we need to read the novellas. I may work out when all of the novellas go and kind of just put it up as a read these books in between for like full experience or whatever. Because I will probably, when I find out where they all go, I will end up reading them. But I don't really know what they are or where they fit in at the minute, apart from the Piebald Prince one. But yeah, that's it for this one. Oh, this is my last live show that I'm doing before Christmas, so have a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, or a Happy Holidays if you don't celebrate Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Happy holidays, everybody.
And yeah, we'll see you in February.
Yes.
See you there.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.